My name is Nancy Devlin Edwards. I was in the class of '66, so I came to Marietta in the fall of '62. I was known then as Buff Devlin. That was my nickname. And I came and played tennis here, and probably 60 years ago to the week that I started with tennis here on the men's tennis team. No, I never had a discussion with other women because it was, I grew up playing tennis. My father put a tennis racket in my hand when I was 4. He threw balls to me, and I played with, anybody and everybody ever since. When I also played tennis on the boys' tennis team in high school, and they didn't have a women's team there. I played basketball there, and I played softball, and I played tennis for the same reason. Someone saw me play tennis, they said, hey, come out for the team, and I did that, and the same thing happened. After winning matches, the teams from the other coaches didn't like it. And tennis wasn't a macho sport then, so the boys, men that I beat never had really a problem with that. I mean, it was shrugged and, off to the next. So when I came here and I was playing tennis with a lab partner down on the tennis courts, the guy on the next court was the captain of the tennis team and said, hey, we could use you on the tennis team. And he went to coach Ken Mead at the time, who was the football coach, who probably was assigned tennis as an extra. And the word came back to me that she can play if she can pass the physical. And so I showed up at the Van Johnson Fieldhouse wearing a pair of red wool shorts and a little Peter Pan blouse, and did whatever, and all the guys were practicing in the field house. And the finale to the workout was that we had to run the stairs, up and down the stairs and across 50 times. And so I was sure that was to finish me off, because it darn near did. And but I made it. It earned me a spot on the tennis team. I don't think I ever had to try out for it. I just remember the next thing I knew, we were playing. The guys at Marietta were terrific. I mean, they were fun and funny. In the field house, we didn't have a fence, so when we practiced in the field house, the balls went rolling, down to the men's locker room, and someone always shouted for me to go get it, right? And I remember we had the football players would come down to watch the tennis. I think the coach probably sent them down, but they were fun too, and said, hey, you've got to come out here and learn how to throw a football. So somebody took me out, and I learned to throw a football, and we played flag football. And the men, I have to say, were really terrific. And another incident, our first away game, some guy said to me, hey, I think it was Denison, where are you going to change clothes? And I thought, well, I don't know. So I wore my tennis dress under my street clothes and went up to play. And after winning a few games, it was the rival coaches who didn't like their men losing to a girl. And that was my short-lived career. The coach, the media had gotten hold of it by then. I'm not sure how particularly, but probably through, maybe it was written up in the Marietta paper, but it became a pretty big story because Associated Press got it, and it went across the country with a picture of me serving. And so the phone rang a lot, and I don't know whether the coach got calls too, because one day I think he met me on the street here and said, look, I don't want you to make a big deal about this. The president of the college is sick, and I didn't really have a problem with it either. But that was the end, and he said, well, we'll see about getting you a letter. that never happened. So here it is 60 years later, and I got this note from a letter from Larry Heiser, and I almost didn't open it, to tell you the truth, and last second I opened it and thought, Title IX, that was 10 years after me. I'm not even sure I understand Title IX. And we had a nice chat, and he asked if I thought I'd come out and get a letter. And I said, sure. And here I am, and I'm really delighted to be here. I have no regrets about tennis then. Maybe that I should have promoted women's sports more, because the athletic director for women then, I don't really know what she did, was a woman named Bennett was her last name. And she asked me to start a crew team and a basketball team, but there wasn't any support. It was, I ran into her on the sidewalk. I did teach tennis for a while, and I taught water safety instruction over at the Betsy Mills. Do they still have a swimming pool? Well, in that swimming pool, and did some lifeguarding at the Y, but never got any further support for starting a women's team. I think I had such a nice conversation with Larry Heiser, first of all, and I thought, I haven't been back in 60 years. I haven't set foot on the campus, and maybe I should go back and see the school, because I loved the school. And having come back here just today, I'd reapply again. Well, I was here at a time when the culture was totally different, and there were no women's sports. I didn't give it much thought. I came out to get a degree and study and so forth. So, I just thought, well, I'll play tennis. There are a couple of courts down here, and as I went along, there were a couple of letters that came to me, after this was in the newspapers, and I think it was a woman from the University of Alabama who, some woman wanted to come out for tennis here, and there basically wasn't any tennis. Another anecdote in the newspapers was that Princeton and the Ivy League schools had a Devlin rule, and that was so the Ivy League schools did not have to play a woman. And that's where I'm bringing in the Alabama story, because I think there was a woman tennis player at the University of Alabama, and the Ivy Leagues would have played Alabama, I think. And they didn't want their boys losing to a girl, so they made that pretty clear up front. And at the time, Princeton didn't have women. Women were not students at Princeton. So I don't have any regrets, except that I wish I had probably tried to start a crew team or a tennis team. It didn't have to be tennis, but to get women involved in sports. And I don't think there was very much support even from the woman who was the athletic director, because I didn't see too many sports here for women. I think I didn't dwell on it because I had that experience in high school, and it was actually a tennis pro that I had in the summer, who was coaching a competitive team, and I was playing, I think at the time I was playing number 1 on the boys tennis team, and I know I won the match, and he was the one that instigated having me kicked off the team, and was successful. Apparently, the way Marietta, it happened that I got kicked off this team from what I heard, is the coaches found a clause in the charter of Marietta that said tennis is for all bona fide male undergraduates. And I didn't qualify. So that was, so it was an interesting time, and it didn't stop me from playing tennis. But over the years, as I've played tennis and lived in different places, people have always thought I played under Title IX, and that stuck with them, and I kept saying, no, this was a little before Title IX. Well, it has been a thrill because I had, I think it was driving up Butler Street when I recognized the dorm I had lived in, and it's still there, and it was, so we parked, and I'm amazed at how beautiful the campus is, and as the things that I remember about it, and what it's become, and I thought I could apply here again. Right? I wish it were closer to back east. I'd sign up for more courses, but it's been delightful to be here.